are we doing here? I'm adjusting. I'm adjusting, more or less. It hasn't been long, so I'm not sure there's much I can say.
And? How is Caleb as a teacher?
Our eyes met from across the room, and I tried to come up with a way to say it delicately. He's not the worst teacher I've had. There came a soft snort from the sofa, the sound of someone trying to hold in a laugh. Possibly Vaughn. Possibly all of them. It was difficult to tell. I appreciate that he takes a logical approach to things, but this type of training is something I need more time to adjust to.
Oh, is that you trying to spare my feelings and not say you hate training with me?
No, because I don't hate training with you in particular.
Just in general.
Sorry I don't find more enjoyment in running laps and hitting things.
If training with Caleb isn't going well, I can always assign someone else. Perhaps Ari would make a better teacher.
You're the one that assigned me to her in the first place!
It was only a suggestion.
Weirdly, it felt almost like Magnus was trying to start a fight. To get me to call Caleb a terrible teacher. Now why would he want to do something like that? Or maybe to have Caleb call me a terrible student. It's unnecessary. Caleb is fine as a teacher. I don't imagine anyone else will help me adjust faster. And, as I understand it, rook abilities are easier and safer to mimic. I don't feel there's a need to make changes.
I'm happy to see you two are getting along so well.
I thought this before, but Magnus liked to provoke people, didn't he? I could see why he consistently seemed to rub Caleb the wrong way. Yep, it's his inner cat. My thoughts were left in a jumble when I heard... something's not guarded. Oh, probably relics. Yup. There was a lot to unpack. Things being hidden from the public, knowing there were sites of archaeological and historical interest much closer to home, yet still out of reach, and knowing it didn't matter for me anymore anyway. At least not for the reasons it would have a few weeks ago. Is it alright for me to be hearing this? I assume it's classified?
You have the clearance to hear it now as one of our highest ranked agents.
Just like that. I've been here for 2 weeks. I haven't...
If there was a problem with you being at this meeting, you wouldn't be here, Morgan. Remember that you're one of us now, not a civilian.
I knew that was true, but I couldn't help but feel like an imposter. Everyone else worked hard for their positions. I'd been thrown into it all out of nowhere.
At any rate, your status isn't what this meeting is about.
Of course not. I didn't mean to derail anything.
Music change. Okay, good sign.
Let's see what's going on. Not ready for field work. No kidding. And here I thought you would all have me lead the mission. This time he glared at me. I know I'm not ready, Caleb. You think the idea of being put on some heavy assignment like this doesn't terrify me? Did you think I'd volunteer? Contrary to what you believe, I'm not an idiot.
I never said you were an idiot.
The way you're snapping at me isn't convincing. He let out a scoff and looked away, still scowling. I'm so glad to see they're getting along so well in this sweet ending.
Now explain how you did it.
I imagined your stupid scowl right there, that's how.
Cute. But this isn't a joke.
Like I don't know that? Like I haven't already been shot at and chased around, so I have no idea how dangerous things can be? I'm just trying to keep myself sane.
Well, I'm trying to keep you alive, not sane.
Enough already! I slammed my other hand into the punching bag as well. Stop taking your frustration out on me, Caleb. I'm trying to keep a positive attitude, and all you've been doing is yelling at me the entire time.
I'm yelling because you still aren't trying.
I am trying! You're yelling because you're mad at Magnus. I thought we had this conversation about you taking it out on me because you don't like your orders. He looked offended for a moment. And angry. and ultimately defeated. He turned his back to me, twisting his neck from side to side before he let out a harsh, humorless laugh that was more an expression of frustration than humor.
Just take a break. We both need to cool our heads.
Fine. I stalked to the other side of my room where my water was. I understood his frustration. I did. And part of me wanted to sit down with this council and explain to them I wasn't ready. But I hadn't even seen them and had no way to request a meeting at this point. Besides, I was making progress. It didn't change that I wasn't ready to go search out some kind of relic hustlers or whatever they were. But it also wasn't like we were planning to do that next week. They still hadn't even found the responsible parties. We had time to train more. And panicking over the future wouldn't help anything. I was already getting the hang of tapping into my Psi. My neural enhancements ensured quick processing of the techniques Caleb was showing me. Of course, it wasn't even the lack of know-how when it came to Psi. I didn't know procedures, strategy, or any of the other things one might assume I should. Are we... Yeah, okay, we're back. Whew. I mean, Magnus took whatever opportunity to escape was afforded to him. I could try the same. He nipped off all the way to New Albion just for a meet and greet. Surely I could go for a walk. Then again, as much as it might be fun to try it, imagine the lectures. Caleb and Ari's disappointed dad face double attack was almost too horrifying to imagine. Disappointed dad face double attack. That would be so wonderful. I love it. Vaughn would be supportive, though. Otherwise, what would I do? Wander around the same halls? Train more? Training was probably the better option, as much as I hated to admit it. It would probably be wiser to earn more freedom. Not that I should have to earn something so basic. But I could only imagine the irritation if they became even more restrictive because they decided they couldn't trust me. I feel like I'm back in Magnus's route for a hot second. I should save sneaking out for later on, if this continues. Interesting. So before we had the option to either sneak out or do training, but now Morgan is just going to go and do training of her own volition. The choice is out of my hands. Having decided I would not sneak out, for now, I pulled on a comfortable outfit to train in. I could go down to the archives and poke around, but this seemed more productive. It wasn't as if I had anything else to do anyway. I'd never been to the training room without one of the others. Actually, I hadn't been much of anywhere without someone else since my arrival. If it wasn't Caleb, either Ari or Vanessa glued themselves to my side, escorting me. Maybe they are more paranoid about me trying to run off than I realized. They said it was because they were helping me adapt. It was hard to know if they were looking out for me or guarding me. I guess the fact no one was waiting for me outside my flat on my day off meant it was the former. It was strange to walk down the hall alone for a change. I was just going to a training room, but it felt stupidly like an adventure despite that. They've gotten me way too used to having a babysitter if I'm finding walking down a hall alone exciting. Anyway, Caleb once mentioned that he usually reserved our normal room for private use, so no one else would bother us while we were working. It didn't surprise me to poke my head in and find others there, but an odd sense of self-consciousness washed over me as I stood in the door and watched unfamiliar people chat and spar. Pushing aside the urge to go find another room, I stepped inside and immediately had no idea what to do. Several people looked my way and the room went dead silent. I smiled with awkward uncertainty, regretting how much time I'd been spending alone with the same few people instead of trying to meet others. Sorry to interrupt. Is it alright if I work here for a while? Yo, Birdie! No sooner had I spoken than an energetic young woman bounded towards me, a wide smile on her face. Are you the new queen? You are, right? Morgan Leone? I read up on your record as soon as you joined. Oh my god, it's so great to meet you! Yeah, that's me. Oh! I'm Birdie. Sorry. Should have introduced myself first. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it as she grinned at me. Another individual with a much calmer demeanor was right behind her and coming over, though they were also smiling, if not bouncing with barely restrained glee like Birdie.
Casey Harvey Lee. and it's not a problem if you join in. But are you sure you want to? Everyone here is just a recent graduate.
We're all ranked, though!
But none of us are assigned to teams.
Is there a reason that should matter?
Not at all. Higher-ranked agents aren't always interested in training with junior agents, though.
I usually train in this room. In any case, it's my day off, but I have a lot of ground to cover to catch up. I thought I'd stop by for a while.
Ah, that makes sense. Given how little anyone else has seen of you, it was feeling like they were keeping you away from us.
I doubt it was anything like that. It's just been busy. Everyone's been dying to meet you, though. It's just that you're usually, you know, surrounded by my guard.
A little.
They're probably afraid I'd be overwhelmed with everything. It's been a lot.
Well, given your rank, I guess I can understand that.
It's so unusual to have someone join at your age. I don't even know how the enrollment would work. A lot of people are interested because of that. Your recruitment had to have been interesting. To think you went this long without even knowing you were an Esper.
Queen ranks are like that, right?
That's what everyone keeps telling me anyway. I didn't know how much other people knew about my recruitment. I suspected it wasn't much. The abduction, that I was an Esper and that I was an F-class. The first F-class queen, as Magnus put it. I suspected a lot of it wasn't common knowledge, though I hadn't been told not to talk about it. Maybe that's why the others have been sticking so close to me. It must have been quite a shock when you found out the truth, huh? There are a lot of rumors going around about... Oh, really? Now, this is interesting.
But you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
Casey prodded Birdie, who took the hint and clapped her mouth shut. But she was still practically wriggling with excitement. I could almost physically feel how much she wanted to talk about it.
I'm sure it's difficult to deal with an entire organization curious about you. And rumors are just rumors.
Tell me more about these rumors. Now I'm curious. What are they saying about me? The two of them shared a look that got me even more curious. Well, rumor is you were in the medical ward when you first got here? That isn't a rumor. I was there for a few days. So everyone thought that, you know, something bad happened?
People were speculating it might have been a power surge, and that's how you found out you were an Esper. Psi fatigue is a constant threat for high rankers.
Then it started going around that the new queen had silver hair. I guess a few people saw you?
Since fade and psi fatigue go hand in hand.
One of my hands unconsciously went to my hair. I guess it made sense that it got attention here. Oh, but your public file shows the hair wasn't recent, right? All your photos... That's right. The hair thing happened when I was much younger. The rumors aren't too far off. I did power surge, which resulted in a nasty case of psi fatigue. Are you alright now? I've recovered. No worries.
That's good to hear. There was a lot of talk about how severe your condition might have been. For those that enter Endgame normally, by the time our psi is strong enough to be a concern, we've learned enough control that fatigue tends to come from some kind of situation that pushes us to overextend ourselves. For someone your age to only start using your abilities, it's probably different. I'd imagine your psi is massive already. Without the ability to control it?
It must have been terrifying. It was a bad day, for sure. Your family must have been so worried. How are they handling all this? Well... Sorry. I'm sorry. If I touch on something you don't want to discuss, please tell me. No, it's fine. It's really fine. They were worried. And very surprised, of course.
I can't even begin to imagine how rough things have been for you.
I've been so busy, there hasn't been time to dwell on it.
I imagine they're hoping to get you up to speed fast.
That's why I've been training with Caleb every day. Caleb? Their eyebrows shot up.
Caleb Jung? Ah, that must be... I can't believe they're having you work with him.
Well, he is a member of the Queen's Guard. That's true, but wouldn't Ari or Vanessa? I don't mind working with him. He's a tough teacher, but I think he's a lot different than he comes across. I know he seems like he's in a perpetual bad mood, but there's more to him than that. He can be helpful sometimes, and he's probably right behind me right now, isn't he? Besides, they say rook abilities are easier to start with.
Why don't you show us what you've learned so far? We're still rookies ourselves, but maybe we can help too.
Don't expect too much from me yet. I've been at this for a couple of weeks, and I've been working exclusively on rook abilities. I'm a rook! I can totally help you out with this! I can't say no to a few helpful pointers.
I'm not a rook, but if you want any pointers about bishop abilities...
I'd love some of those as well. I mean, it doesn't hurt to get a head start on that while I can. Nice. Friendship. It was kinda great to not start a training session with running laps. And, well, Casey and Birdie were fun to work with. Both were a little younger than me, but their energy and enthusiasm were contagious. The other junior agents gave us space after a round of introductions. While I'd been a little shy about working in a room full of people at first, it wasn't so bad. The others sometimes paused to watch, but that was expected. I did my best to stay focused. One thing that intrigued me right from the start was that Birdie's side was much easier to mimic than Caleb's. Without a frame of reference, I didn't know how normal my experience was, but I found focusing on someone's sigh gave me a mental image of a sort of colored light or smoke around a person. I didn't physically see it that way, but that was the image in my head. A projection of what sigh was, I suppose. People within the same rank had similar colors of sigh, but different vibrancy or brightness, which seemed to be dependent on their strength or skill. When a person used their sigh, the light would change shape, texture, and form to do whatever the person wanted it to do. With Caleb, it had always been tricky to get my sigh to copy whatever his was doing. The texture of his sigh was so complex, and manipulating mine to be the same way was hard. It was different with Birdie. Her sigh had a much simpler structure. I could sort of hook my sigh into hers and let it color and shape bleed into me and reshape my sigh. The same proved true for Casey. And once I learned how to do that, it was like being able to dissect their abilities to see how they worked. Logically, I had to assume it was because they were younger and less experienced. Or maybe because they were less powerful. But the lack of complexity made them so much easier to work with. I learned a lot in the first hour we spent together. Besides, it was fun, that feeling of learning something new, of succeeding, overcoming. The satisfaction it brought with it was something I hadn't experienced since I arrived. I'm so glad I came today. Birdie was talkative and adorable. She chattered non-stop between explanations and my attempts to mimic her abilities. As they had said earlier, they weren't part of an official team yet. Such teams usually consisted of 4 to 6 people, and it was a big deal for one to extend an offer to a new graduate. The usual process was to spend 6 months to a year on a temporary team given simple assignments. After that, they could be recruited into an existing team or form one of their own. There was a distinct hierarchy among the teams with the guard units, of which there were up to 4 at the top. They were ranked in terms of skill level and ability, and existing teams had extensive reputation and experience. New graduates would openly compete for the limited positions on top teams. Less accomplished teams were often sent on border patrol and other mundane jobs. Higher-ranked teams got the exciting jobs. It was interesting hearing about the internal politics from the perspective of those at the bottom of the pecking order. The respect and admiration they had for those at the top was palpable. So different from Caleb's ever-present cynicism. At the moment, though, Birdie was trying to explain a new technique, not explain the inner workings of Endgame. So, as I was saying, not all rooks can do it, but if you're able to release a small amount of psi the moment you hit a physical target, you can increase the force of a strike even further. Isn't that like a psi burst? Well, I don't know. I can't create a psi burst, and the concept of manipulating my psi outside my body is a little strange to me. But I don't think it's quite the same.
With a psi burst, you're throwing concentrated psi energy at a target, causing physical damage. Birdie's technique is different because you're releasing a small amount of psi at the point of contact, adding additional force behind the strike.
Can I watch you do it once? Does it help a lot if you observe? She asked this as she took position in front of the punching bag again. If I can observe the state of your Psi through the process, it'll give me a better idea of what to do. You can see other people's Psi? It's more of a mental image than seeing it. Is it not normal to see it? Not at all. I'd say I'm aware of my Psi, but not enough to see it.
Those of us with higher awareness-based abilities probably have a clearer image of the shape of our Psi, but it's internalized. We can't sense the Psi of other people in the same way.
I'm sure it's different because you're a queen rank, right? That's so amazing. So all you have to do is watch me. I'll show you...
Nothing.
Aww. Party pooper. The three of us froze in place when Caleb appeared, arms crossed and customary scowl on his face.
And I'll be taking my student back now.
I don't have anything on my schedule today, though. It's okay, if you need to go. These guys are really scared of him, aren't they? Do you have to glare at everyone you encounter, Caleb?
I'm not glaring. This is just how my face looks.
I smirked and opened my mouth, but he cut me off with a scowl.
Don't say it. Whatever clever retort you think you have, keep it to yourself.
I would never. You have a lovely face. The way their eyes are just like, whoa. She's like, she's going head to head with this guy. She made him blush. Let's go.
Get your ass over here. We're leaving.
Casey and Birdie were both giving me a wide-eyed look as I turned back to them. I wonder if they expected Caleb to tackle me onto the mat and beat me up for talking back to him or something. So cute. I guess I'm being commandeered again.
Again?
Pretty sure it's one of his hobbies. Caleb let out a disgusted noise from near the door. Thank you both for your help today. It was refreshing and very helpful. Sure. If you ever want to come work out with us again, you can message us anytime. I'd love to. And maybe we can meet up for lunch sometime. That would be so fun! Message me and set something up.
It was nice to meet you today.
Same.
Finished?
I guess so. Just let me get my things. I hadn't brought much with me anyway. The usual water and towel, and that's all. I gathered them quickly and shoved them in my bag. As I hurried to where Caleb was waiting, I waved to Birdie and Casey one last time before he ushered me out of the room.
I hope you realize you don't get bonus points for being an overachiever. You were supposed to have the day off.
Of course, he had to have something to say about it. I don't get bonus points. I survive if they send me off on a mission too soon.
We've had this talk. You aren't going on any missions anytime soon.
It would be nice if that was true. But we both knew I couldn't count on it. I didn't want to argue with him about it again, though. There was nothing to be done about it anyway. In any case, isn't it my choice what I do in my free time?
You're given free time so you can rest, not so you can overwork yourself until you end up back in the medical ward.
I am hardly overworking myself.
Oh? Then what were you doing? I watched enough of that lesson to know you weren't playing around.
I'm not even tired.
Time off is as much about your mental state as it is about your physical state.
Caleb, you worry too much. Besides, it's hard to get my mind off things when I can't even... Ooh, bleh, words. Whoa! My mouth completely froze up there. Let's try that again. Besides, it's hard to get my mind off things when I can't even leave this place.
Which is why I'm taking you out.
Out?
Out. You didn't want to see the city.
I did! I didn't think I could, though.
You can as long as you're with me.
It would have been nice to go out without a babysitter, but considering I didn't know my way around, having a guide wasn't so bad. I'll take it. So glad I didn't go out alone earlier. Suddenly excited, I rushed the rest of the way to my place to grab a quick shower so we could leave. Caleb didn't protest and quietly waited for me to get ready. How domestic of you. But now that I knew where we were going, I was too motivated to drag my feet. I almost wished he'd told me earlier he would be taking me into the city. I wasn't a fan of surprises. But I guess I wouldn't have gotten to meet Birdie and Casey that way, and it would be a shame if I'd missed out on that. Their lesson was far too helpful. Either way, the day was shaping up to be much, much better than I had first thought. Nice. It was less than an hour later that we were leaving the compound, and I was finally getting a good look at Brace Hill. Music change. That's always a good sign. I've noticed people here are really friendly, aren't they? Caleb gave me an amused look. What? Everyone is smiling, saying hi, staring.
You think people are staring at us because they're friendly?
I mean, I guess it could be you. I believe I've mentioned how lovely your face is. The eye roll. And there was the eye roll again.
Tempting as it is to enjoy your confusion, no. It's not that people are friendly. Many people here are very supportive of Endgame, that's all.
Wait, they can tell? Or are you that famous?
I'm hardly famous. It's not just you. And yes, people are noticing us. This area is a favorite for most of us since it's near the tower, so you'll find we get recognized.
Hmm? Not yet.
Agents also patrol Brace Hill a lot. It's our home. That means it's safer than most other places. And is sometimes a target. So we get recognized from working too.
A target? I suppose Endgame did have a lot of enemies.
That said, since you're with me, I'm sure a few of them are looking up your profile and seeing you're an agent.
They can tell that from my profile? Is there a notation or something?
It's nothing like that. Agent profiles are locked. They can't even look at your photo. Recordings are disabled as well. And agents like us are the only ones with our information kept this private.
So if I had just looked up his and Ari's profiles that day, I'd have known they were from Endgame. Come to think of it, it was weird that didn't even occur to me at the time.
Anyway, if we're out in the field, and it's necessary, we have a false profile we can enable so it doesn't attract attention. But it's unnecessary on a day-to-day basis.
I see. Fake profiles. You think of everything, don't you?
It's our job to think of everything. And we've been at it a long time.
I guess that's true.
You guess.
He grinned. Didn't get to skip too much.
Can't tell me you haven't thought about it.
I have thought about it. I thought about it this morning. What are we doing? Oh, escaping. Gotcha. I'm like, what are we thinking about?
And you went to train instead. Aren't you dutiful?
Merely determined to live.
I guess that goes for all of us.
Sometimes I suspect I'm not the only one who needs a break from it all.
Well, trying to train you is stressful. Like training a pet rock.
I am way smarter than a rock. And much more charming, thank you very much.
So what were you working on with those rookies anyway?
Oh, they were helping me out with some things, showing me some new techniques. I realized that mimicking and understanding their Psi is a little easier, too.
Then working with me.
I thought about answering that honestly, but decided against it. Oof. I should just leave that one alone. From the look on his face, Caleb knew what was going through my head anyway. I decided to casually move on from that. Real cash. I didn't mean it that way. I meant their Psi was easier to mimic.
Their Psi is different from mine. That's what you're trying to say.
It is. I don't know how to explain it. It's less complex? Maybe less developed? So it's a little easier to interpret its movements and structure, that's all.
I guess that's fair. If it was that much easier for you, maybe I should schedule weekly work with them as part of your training regimen. I hadn't considered the implications of Psi complexity when planning things.
You mean working with them while you're there as well, right?
I am your teacher for the time being.
Oh, this will win me some favor for sure, considering I'm certain they're both scared of you. I expected to get some remark back from him, but he looked thoughtful for a moment, running a finger along his lower lip.
So you can analyze Psi to that degree, huh? I'll admit, I don't know much about how your abilities work. The last queen was...
His voice unexpectedly faltered at her mention, just enough for me to notice. I think he realized it too. He cleared his throat and continued, eyes shifting away.
The last queen was a natural at using her abilities. I doubt she could have explained to anyone how she did it. I never heard her talk about things like the complexity of someone's psi. I think the rest of us figured you'd be as much a natural with things. Stands to reason that you're not, though. She started using her psi at a much earlier age.
The last queen, huh? I didn't know much about her, except that she had died about 10 years prior. I remembered when it happened, since there was a lot of news coverage, but I didn't pay much attention to the story at the time. Everyone on the guard had grown up together in Endgame, so that must have included her. I was still an outsider. Losing me would be an annoyance right now, and I assumed that for at least some of them it would make them sad. But losing the previous queen must have hurt a lot. I wonder what happened to her. She was a queen rank, yet even that wasn't enough to keep her alive. I didn't like to think about that and what it meant for someone like me, who could still barely use her abilities. But maybe I should ask him anyway. I had a right to know, after all. Caleb, I was wondering... A chorus of shouts from down the street interrupted me mid-sentence, drawing attention to something happening about a block away. Caleb was on his feet in an instant, while my reaction was much slower. Here we go! Relic time. What am I doing with this lady? Ooh, gonna help her again. Interesting. Interessant. Wow, we skipped a lot there. How interesting. Okay, no affection. What's the... Oh, I don't have any reason to care what happens to you. Sad. That goes for you as well, doesn't it? Or are you going to tell me you care because that's your job? He said nothing for a long time, and I thought that was exactly what his defense would have been. Or do I get to hear about how guilty you feel for dragging me to Endgame? Again. He glared at me. It doesn't make me feel any better if you tell me the only reason people worry is because of my worth as a queen.
That isn't why I...
He stopped short, his jaw tightening. Everyone here has had to learn to adapt. I'm not different in that regard. The difference is just the timing. So you don't have to feel responsible for anything I go through here.
That's what I hate about this place. It pulls you in and convinces you that you have to adapt to it because it's the way it should be. We get hurt. We fall. We die. And every damn time, we're told this is normal. It's normal to be sacrifices for everyone else. It isn't normal, Morgan. None of it.
Do you not believe in the mission of Endgame, Caleb?
You mean keeping the peace, defending citizens, protecting the greater good, all that?
Yeah.
I believe in it. But let me ask you this. What makes the people out there better than the ones in here? We look out for them. Who looks out for us? Someone like you, who should be out there, gets dragged in here and suddenly... you aren't worth protecting anymore. That pisses me off.
And that's why you're determined to protect me?
Not like you can protect yourself.
Not yet. When I get there, I'll be sure to watch out for you too.
Pfft. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
You're not all-powerful. I don't want to ever see you throw yourself in front of me and get hurt again. He reached a hand towards me, but he stopped, hand frozen mid-air for a long moment. He finally just set his hand on my head again and gave it a light push. Aw, man. I gotta say, though, I really enjoyed that question she asked him, like, do you believe in the mission? And he's like, look, they treat us like garbage just because we're part of this organization. It's not fair.
That's my job.
I'm tired of hearing you say that like it makes it better.
You're too soft for this place, you know that.
I smiled a little, and even though we were silent after that, it wasn't as awkward. I leaned my head on my knees and shut my eyes to the sound of the quiet trickling of water and Caleb quietly tapping his foot beside me. Alright. Okay, so volatant. Please do. I've never been that great at sports anyway. I'm not sure I even know all the rules to volatant. Caleb looked mildly horrified when I said that.
I can forgive you for not being great at sports, given your favorite pastime involves studying rocks and dead people.
I'm very choosy about the rocks I like to study, thank you.
But I can't forgive you for not even knowing the rules of the game. Which is why you're going to learn. Not tomorrow, since we don't have a room reserved, but I will definitely teach you sometime.
Ugh. I'm not looking forward to that. He smirked at my overt disapproval.
For now, you should head up so that you're at least somewhat rested for training tomorrow.
Fine, fine. But you should go up too. I'm not the only one that needs sleep.
I'll go soon, don't worry.
Good night, Caleb.
Yeah. See you in the morning.